Good afternoon. My name is Ayana Brower, and my research is a dimensional characterization of associations between schizotypy and context processing. My advisor is Dr. Chris Walheim at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Schizophrenia is widely known as a devastating psychiatric disorder. However, it is more complex than just hallucinations and delusions. Those are called positive symptoms because they are the addition of psychological experiences other people don't have. But there are also disorganized symptoms that might make it difficult for a person to think, speak, and act logically, and negative symptoms, which are the subtraction of healthy behaviors like social interests and motivation. However, schizophrenia specialists believe there may be a category of symptoms even more debilitating than these: cognitive deficits. People with schizophrenia have a hard time with things like planning, paying attention, understanding instructions, and remembering things. However, it has been shown that these cognitive deficits are associated with different symptom subtypes, and people with schizophrenia vary in how much they experience symptoms of the different subtypes. Previous research has found negative symptoms, but not positive or disorganized, are associated with deficits in memory. Memory comes in different forms, such as memory for facts or for how to tie your shoes. Negative symptoms are associated with memory for experiences, called episodic memories. Episodic memories are encoded with a lot of context, details like time and your surroundings as part of the event. This is one of the things people with a lot of negative symptoms seem to struggle with: context. This is a struggle we all experience to some degree. For example, when you're on the wrong side of the parking lot looking for your car where you parked it yesterday. To better characterize context processing deficits, participants learned and recalled from lists of word pairs. They learned 2 lists of word pairs per trial. The word pairs came from triplets, for example, knee, bone, bend. These triplets were each broken into 2 word pairs, in this case, knee, bone, and knee, bend. This allowed us to have different classes of word pairs. They either repeated between the lists, changed between the lists, or only appeared in one list. In a changed pair, knee bone would appear in one list and knee bend would appear in the other. After studying both lists, participants completed a test in the sequence you see in the bottom row. They saw the first word of a pair and were asked to give the correct response from the target list. They were then asked if the pair changed between the lists, and if they said yes, they were asked what the alternate response from the other list was. We hypothesized that participants with higher negative schizotypy scores would have a harder time recalling the target response and would incorrectly report the alternate response as the target response more often. We also assessed participants with the multidimensional schizotypy scale for subclinical psychological experiences similar to, but less severe than, the symptoms of schizophrenia. People high in subclinical schizotypy are easier to reach than people with schizophrenia, and they are less likely to take medication that affects their performance. Because data collection was halted due to the pandemic, our preliminary results are drawn from only about half of our planned sample, though we will resume when it is safe. So far, non-significant trends show what we are expecting. Here are scatter plots correlating subtype with recall, the proportion of word pairs answered correctly, and intrusions, which are answers from the wrong list. There is a negative trend only for negative schizotypy score and recall, meaning participants with higher negative scores had a harder time remembering the word pairs in general, which indicates that the 2 words of the pair weren't properly bound together in the same context. There is also an upward trend only for negative schizotypy and intrusions, indicating that they were having trouble differentiating temporal contexts, or the time and order in which the word pairs were learned. When severe enough, as they are in some people with schizophrenia, these context processing deficits can actually remain debilitating even when other symptoms are controlled. They can also help predict who develops schizophrenia and their long-term prognosis. Our work helps us better understand and identify this illness and support those it affects. In regards to future directions, our work primarily assesses the use of temporal context, but there are other types of context, such as spatial. Future work should assess whether the context processing deficits we are finding are consistent across modalities. Thank you to my mentor, Dr. Chris Walheim, to Dr. Tom Quapple of the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign for scoring our schizotypy assessments, to my fellow lab members who contributed to this project, and to the Mark U Star program and the NIH for supporting my research.